point, mentioned get a quarterback named as soon as possible. Are there other positions on the offensive line where the competition is such that there's work to be done? And is there any other position that maybe has some urgency?
Need some urgency? I think you got a little bit more time with those, a little more grace. They've been doing a good job of fighting all those battles, and we're rotating a lot of guys in through on that offensive line unit. So I'm okay with the gel taking a little while up front.
How beneficial is it to have guys like Gino and Owas who can kind of play multiple spots and kind of rotate like you were just saying?
Yeah, the flex position, I think, especially an experienced guy like Gino, is extremely important. You know, if you can play multiple spots, especially if you're a guy that can either snap a football or push yourself out to tackle, life's going to be really, really good for you up front because you got guys that can do both.
Ryan, what's kind of the snap plan for quarterbacks heading into week 2 of camp?
Right now, we're keeping status quo. All the guys have been getting 1s, 2s, and 3s, with the exception of Ty. He's the only guy that's not taking any 3 reps. So really, it's been status quo. But today, everybody got a couple racks with the 1s, and Ty took a couple with the 2s. So we're still moving them around, and the guys know that. There's a pretty clean picture moving forward throughout the week.
With another coach on staff who's coaching quarterbacks, obviously that frees you up a little bit. How do you divide your time on the practice field?
Yeah, I'm always going to probably hunker pretty close to the quarterback, just because of that relationship that I have to have for game day. But it does, you know, at times, especially if there's something specific in a game plan or drill work that I think has to be addressed to see if we can fix some problems, I'm certainly going to be over for those drills on any of the position groups. So the flexibility is huge, you know, and just having guys that you can trust in the quarterback room like Nick is ultra important.
How would you evaluate what you've seen from the quarterbacks since the last time we talked to you?
They've grown a ton. Spring to now, even first practice to now, has been outstanding. I thought, you know, a couple of the young guys hit a couple bumps early on, and I really thought they played through it really quickly. Sometimes you'll hit that and they'll stay down. They get on the canvas and they can't get back up, but I thought both the guys did a great job, Keelan and Austin, of playing through that. We've had a lot less up and down with the whole room. I think that we've done a good job taking care of the football. Again, today there was no picks, and I really didn't feel like the ball was in jeopardy today, and I think that's one of the biggest things is just improved decision-making in the room.
Coach, what have you seen from the running backs?
Jam Miller, he's the man. Love that guy. So Jam's been doing everything. I think, you know, the thing about a guy like Jam, you love older guys that don't feel like their skill set's complete. And what I mean by that is I think Jam really wholeheartedly takes on, like, there's things that I can get better at. And he works at them extremely hard. He's very diligent about his process. And so he's a good leader in the room. I think Daniel has showed the physicality we thought with exceptional hands. I think Dre's getting better at pass protection, as is Rich. And so those 4 guys have really shown a lot of growth. And then even A.K. Deere is a guy that, you know, was really swimming this spring and has showed some promise here lately. You know, normally I don't talk about those younger guys too much, but just been proud of, you know, his progress the last couple of days has been really good.
With the depth that you have in the running back room, how many guys are you expecting to see utilized this fall?
I mean, whatever we need for the game plan. Sometimes there's some specialty stuff that you need a little bit more of one type of back, and I think that we're lucky that we have a lot of different types of backs. So I think that you normally are going into almost any game, you're thinking there's at least 3 guys that are going to get, you know, considerable reps.
What have you seen from Jam on a pass protection front? How has he improved in that aspect of the game?
I don't know. He was pretty solid right away. I mean, I would say physicality, but he's always been super physical. I think his eyes have improved, you know, just as far as where his first indicators are at and just following his rules. So I think he was pretty dialed, honestly, even before the spring, but I certainly think he continues to improve on that.
How would you evaluate Isaiah Horton this fall camp so far?
Hungry. Just, I mean, he's a guy like today, he had a touchdown in the red zone, ran a really physical route in the middle third of the end zone that he had to win on tight coverage and bodied the guy up and made a really, really strong catch. And I think he's a guy that is very critical of himself and aware of the things that he needs to get better at. And I think that's all you can ask out of players, and he's certainly doing a good job of that.
Coach Shepard said yesterday that Rico's a guy y'all kind of use his blocking technique as an example for some of the other receivers. How do you teach the young receivers the importance of blocking when they may not be getting the ball?
Drill it, number one. Blocking circuit is for everybody. So for us, you know, we do work extensively. I mean, that part of our game, you know, from a circuit or a drill work standpoint is something I know as a staff that we work every week, every day. And, you know, the receivers are guys that it's really, you know, I guess the point I made the other day in the unit meeting was I said, when I was here in the spring and we were going through practice, I felt like we had to find a guy to pick and point out, like, that's what it should look like. And that was the guy that was standing out. Now, if there's a guy not doing it right and tight hands and good base and things like that, now he's the guy that's standing out. So the room is completely flipped. I think it's a belief system in the room, and they've certainly captured that.
There's a general perception that spring ball is more about fundamentals and fall camp is more about playbook install, but that's obviously somewhat of an oversimplification.
Mm-hmm.
How much is fundamentals still bleeding into fall camp at this point?
It's got to stay in there all year. I truly believe that. That's a little bit of coach talk and saying the right thing on the mic, but I do. I think that guys can improve throughout the season, and you don't know. It might be the third string left guard that you got to count on by the end of the year. So you got to continually develop young players, and that's a critical part of what we do. And so it has to be the same, you know, in my opinion, all the way through the year. And you got to be able to show them clips of what it used to look like, what it looks like now, and what you want the finished product to look like. And we certainly do that every day right now.
Piggybacking off of that, how does the O-line depth look as campus progresses?
Really good, really good. I think, you know, the interior position, as mentioned before, there's a lot of flexibility in guys that can play, you know, multiple spots, including not just Gino. You know, Parker obviously solidifies the inside at the center spot, but Gino is really capable center as well and can play both guard spots. At the tackle spot, we're lucky. We got a couple of young tackles that are starting to progress, in Jackson and Michael Carroll. And then, you know, with Olas, you got 3 young guys that are backing up your 2 starters as it is right now. And I think that we feel really confident in the depth that we have right now.
You were talking about the ability for wide receivers to, you know, the importance of blocking in that. How much of a transition is that for a guy like Jalen Mbakwe, who's kind of still learning the position in that element of everything?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a lot if the culture in the room's wrong. If the culture in the room isn't that, hey, we catch touchdowns, but the expectation is that we're going to block. And when that culture is right, it happens really quick because they're more than capable typically. The athleticism, the strength, all that stuff's normally there. It's more of a demeanor or a mindset. So when the room is right, I think it happens really quick.
What have you seen from Jalen Mbakwe this fall?
You know, I think Jalen is one of the guys, we haven't talked about a bunch, but I think he's really settling into his role as a receiver. He's improving on route running. I think his hands are getting better, you know, securing the football. I think he's doing a really nice job. He's shown up quite a bit already.
Couple more questions.
Was that mindset flip with the wide receivers from the spring? Was that more coach-led, like y'all got to get better at this? Was it some players stepping up, or kind of what do you think led to that?
That's a combination. That's a good question. I think certainly Shep and myself have that type of demeanor as far as the expectations in the room. It's great when you got teach clips from guys like Roma Dunze that are blocking and Jalen McMillan that are more than willing to be blockers, and then you show them NFL clips, and those guys are all expected to insert on hammer nail, and you got Puka Nacua and guys like that aren't scared to put their nose in there, and the DK Metcalfs of the world. So I think when you're able to show them that, like, hey, this is what it's supposed to look like, and then your guys start doing it, you can start showing it on film and just, you know, positively reinforce what it's supposed to look like. So I think it's a combination of both. That was a long answer for that. I apologize. Holy smokes.
From your perspective, what gets you excited about this offense so far?
Man, I'm really excited about the way the old line's playing, the physicality that they've been showing, and, you know, the leadership that Parker's been able to have. And then, you know, KP, I think, is really, it's been so fun to coach him. He's a hungry guy that, you know, he obviously is a super talented player and God-given ability, but he works really hard and very diligent about his process. So seeing that, and then just already the improvement in the quarterback room fires me up.
Does it help to have an offensive line with guys who can, you know, lift 500 pounds, you know?
Yeah, it sure does. I've been on the other end of that, and it's not as fun. So yeah, anytime you get a bunch of guys that can move them from A to B, life's pretty good.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you all.
Thank you.